you. Take a look at this video of real interviews held over Skype for a mystery job.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Have you ever done one of these interviews over the camera before?
No.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about the job to get started with. It's not just a job, it's sort of probably the most important job. The title that we have going right now is Director of Operations, but it's really kind of so much more than that. Responsibilities and requirements are really quite extensive. First category for the requirements would be mobility. This job requires that you must be able to work standing up most or really all of the time, constantly on your feet, constantly bending over, constantly exerting yourself, a high level of stamina.
Okay.
That's a lot.
For how many hours?
135 hours to unlimited hours a week. It's basically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I'm sure you'll have a chance from time to time to maybe just sit down here and there, yeah?
You mean like a break?
Yeah.
No, there are no breaks available.
Is that even legal?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like no lunch?
You can have
or-
lunch, but only when the associate is done eating their lunch.
I think that's a little intense.
No.
Not possible.
That's crazy.
Now, this position requires excellent negotiation and interpersonal skill. We're really looking for someone that might have a degree in medicine, in finance, and the culinary arts. You must be able to wear several hats. Associate needs constant attention. Sometimes they have to stay up with an associate throughout the night. Being able to work in a chaotic environment, if you had a life, we'd ask you to sort of give that life up. No vacations. In fact, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and holidays, the workload is gonna go up, and we demand that, with a happy disposition.
That's almost cruel. That's almost a very, very sick, twisted joke.
Worried about when there's time to sleep or...
Oh, no time to sleep.
Yeah, all-encompassing, almost.
That's exactly right.
365 days a year?
Yes.
No, that's inhumane.
That's very insane.
The meaningful connections that you make and the feeling that you get from really helping your associate are immeasurable. Also, let's cover the salary. The position is going to pay absolutely nothing.
Excuse me?
No. Nobody's doing that for free.
Yeah,
You're
pro
crazy.
bono, completely for free.
No.
What if I told you there's someone that actually currently holds this position right now? Billions of people, actually.
Who?
Moms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moms.
That's awesome.
And they meet every requirement, don't
wow.
Oh my God. Moms are the best.
Yeah, there's no pay. They're 24 hours. They're always there.
Now I'm thinking about my mom.
they? Yeah, and what are you thinking about her?
I'm thinking about all those nights and everything.
Thank you so much for everything you do. I know it doesn't seem like I appreciate all of it, but I definitely do.
So, Mom, I want to say thank you for everything that you've done. I love you very much. You've been there through thick and thin. My mom is just awesome. She's awesome.
The most powerful thing for me about that video, as well as making me cry every time, is that whilst a cross-section of people are fondly acknowledging that motherhood might be the toughest job on the planet, it's a job that is rarely performed in a team or as a village. Without a village to raise their child, isolated mums, sometimes with the help of their partners, are taking on this enormous responsibility themselves, which is impacting them, their kids, and their relationship. Mums have gone from here to here. I found myself as one of these mums and vowed to empower mothers to rebuild their village. I created an initiative called Street Gangs, which builds local community networks for mothers and their families. I'm talking about mums here rather than parents because A, mums are still the primary caregivers in the majority. B, I'm a mum, so I can speak from experience. And C, mothers are still an underrepresented voice. And my calling is to bring some power to that voice. Prior to having a baby, I was a director in an investment firm, managing a large team of people whilst completing an MBA. By society's measures, a competent person. Once I'd had my baby, whilst there were early parts of motherhood I enjoyed, I was lonely. My baby was beautiful, but I was longing for adult interaction, and my husband was busy working. And these early parts of motherhood drew on many of my weaknesses and not so many of my strengths, which of course made me disinterested in a lot of the job. And the overwhelming global presumption that I, like all new mums, was loving this time with my new baby silenced any voice I had to express my real feelings. Was I depressed? It didn't feel that way. It just felt like I was balking at the size, scope, and conditions of my new job. There was nothing wrong with my mind, but plenty wrong with my environment, particularly that I was operating alone for the majority of the day. Surely there were others out there who I could team up with, who liked doing the bits that I wasn't good at, and vice versa. But who could I team up with? My friends and family didn't live as close as I would have liked, and I didn't know many people in my street. Knowing my neighbours in today's world would be weird, right? But suddenly I needed to know all the new mums in my street that I'd previously ignored. So, in between sobbing into my cups of tea, I approached the topic with some calm intrigue. First of all, I did a mother's job description. Not only did it stretch to 200 hours in a week, out of a possible 168 that exist in a week, thereby making it the job of 5 employees. But the breadth of skills seemed impossible for one human to carry. With my keen corporate eye, I saw that if ever there was a team job, this was it. The size of the job was confirmed when I read that 48 to 64% of Australian GDP occurs from unpaid work within households, and 2/3 of this work is done by women. That is a phenomenal statistic. So this was a massive yet unstructured industry. I read that 1/3 of mothers find parenting fun and meaningful, 1/3 don't, and 1/3 have mixed feelings. Okay, so there were others out there having some internal difficulty answering the question, are you loving it? I learnt that connecting with others is why we're here, which is why mothering in a team must make sense from both a practical and spiritual basis. And the hundreds of history books I read around this topic confirmed that mothers had operated in teams from the very beginning of time to only about 100 years ago, when money and individualism triumphed over family and society. As a result, today's mothers are arguably at their most sad, alone, and unsupported. 87% of mothers experience isolation, which is a large contributor to the 1 in 5 depression rate. So, having laboured through my internal struggles, I gave birth to street gangs. All it takes is one mother in the street to do a letter drop, which brings the mothers together, which then ignites the community for everyone. We may live behind high fences, but it is impossible to suppress our desire to connect. So street gangs are easy to set up, the take-up is strong, and once they're up and running, they run themselves in whatever way that may be. They may share toys, clothes, parenting, meals. Generally, people identify their strengths and play to them. They share support, company, and love. There are about 60 street gangs in Melbourne at the moment, and each of them chooses the best way for them. Let me tell you about my street gang and the way it has transformed our lives. We share cooking, thank God, and cars. We look after each other's kids instead of waiting for a place in a childcare centre, allowing some of us to go back to work. By sharing school runs, after school and school holiday activities, we've allowed some of the mums to make the messy fit of school hours into corporate working hours, a fit which many mums without a gang would deem impossible, thus excluding them completely from the corporate world. And this is a really powerful point about street gangs, I'm sure you'll see. Mothering can sometimes feel like it's hard to fit into this world because it operates in a world slightly outside the main world. But street gangs bring mums together to design a world to suit them, where they can take charge and thrive. We helped another of the gang through the scary process of reimagining her career after kids, each one of us taking responsibility for a different part of the process, according to our strengths and network. Her counselling business is now up and running. So you can start to see, can't you, how we are taking the loud but scattered groan of mothers worldwide, who are largely powerless to make many changes, into the hum of small groups of like-minded mums, addressing each other's challenges in order to obtain real choices and real freedom. Then there's our monthly dinners, which my husband says are out of a movie. On one level, they're just a bunch of mums having a laugh and some time off. On another level, they provide a space for real honesty, empathy, and support, without any judgment, and always tears, which brings us a release and some perspective that we're all in the same shit. Recently, one of our gang's baby boys died at 6 weeks old. We held his and her hand in hospital, read him stories, and looked after the rest of her family. In her words, the gang has helped me so much by soothing my tired and aching heart and body. Street gangs diffuse the intensity of family life. First of all, with your partner. I can think of about 4 times in the last month where just by throwing us some wise advice, or taking the kids, or just by being a fresh face in the house, the gang has provided my husband and I with a welcome buffer. And then with your kids. You probably remember how good it felt to walk down the street to a mate's house and interact with adults other than your parents. Psychologists remind us that access to strong adult role models other than parents is critical for teenage development. And having that local support network for your kids takes the pressure off parents. I mean, my kids are still young, but knowing I can hit the streets when it all gets too much and bump into someone who'll diffuse that pressure makes me into a better parent. And this is another really powerful point about street gangs. Without the cushion of neighbours and community, this age of loneliness has created these unnaturally intense relationships between mums and their kids, which we think of as normal now. Therefore, I often hear my friends saying that they don't feel like they have what their growing kids require, as if it's an insufficiency of theirs rather than their network. And this feeling of insufficiency can dampen self-esteem and the confidence to parent, and so the cycle continues. Street gangs can break that negative cycle. Street gangs also bring in everyone in the street. Dads, grannies, kids. Our kids have literally reclaimed the streets. Young kids exploring on their own instead of being slumped in front of a TV, who now have it in their DNA to look out for their neighbour, which must be one of the most fundamental learnings to set a kid on its right way. I'm wondering whether some of you are thinking it might be hard to trust your neighbour. To you, I'd say that statistically, our neighbourhoods are as safe as they were in 1972. There's a great stat from America that says, if you left your child on the side of the road, you would have to wait 750,000 years before they were kidnapped by a stranger. And mothering in a team can sometimes be hard, as I'm sure some of you know. Recently, I walked in to find my young son lying on top of my neighbour's child, trying to bite her face in a game gone wrong, with my neighbour watching on. But as a passage about mothering as a village so beautifully puts it, we know each other so well annoying one another from time to time, but never staying mad long, because the truth is, we need each other. So this is an invitation to go build your village. It will take you to kickstart it. But because street gangs are simply reconstructing our natural way of living, it will take minimum effort from you for the profound impact it then has on you, your family, and your community.